Good evening, and thank you for joining me for our webinar on the Christian mystics based on the powerful book, an amazing book by none other than Matthew Fox. Truly, he is a modern day prophet. But tonight's series is part 31, and we're looking again at the late Bede Griffiths. Excuse me, Bede, who was a Benedictine who went to live in India at an ashram for over 50 years. And his sharings have been very powerful indeed, certainly challenging the heart. So what have we in store for us this evening? Well, this is what Bede Griffiths has to say. The sexual origin of the lingam is, of course, obvious, but this only brings out the extraordinary depth of understanding in ancient India. Sex was always regarded as something holy. I think that it still is, except where the Indian spirit has been corrupted by the West. The lingam was therefore a natural symbol of the sacred, source of life. The natural reaction of a European is to think that this is something obscene. But to me it seemed a touching expression of the sense of the sacred, the awareness of the essential holiness of nature and of faith in her generative powers. And Matthew Fox has this to say: a touching expression of the sense of the sacred is how Griffiths understands the deep meaning of the lingam in the sacred architecture of the Hindu temples in India. This ancient culture has not separated sexuality from spirituality, as so many religions in the West have done. Bede observes how religion has distorted itself in the West when it regards sex as anything but holy. He challenges us, as does William Everson and others, to move beyond that mistake and act of corruption. And Bede goes on to say, perhaps this is the deepest impression left by life in India, the sense of the sacred as something pervading the whole order of nature. Every hill and tree and river is holy, and the simplest human acts of eating and drinking, still more of birth and marriage, have all retained their sacred character. In the West, everything has become profane. It has been deliberately emptied of all religious meaning. It is there that the West needs to learn from the East. Wow. That we have to learn the sense of the holy, of a transcendent mystery which is immanent in everything and which gives an ultimate meaning to life. The Western world must recover this ancient vision of the three dimensions of reality. Then everything is sacred. That is what one finds in India. Everything is sacred. That is what one finds when eating or drinking or taking a bath in any of the normal events of life. There is always a sacred action. We have lost that awareness. There is the sacramental sacramentality of the universe. The whole creation is pervaded by God. That is profound. And I truly do believe, as a Franciscan, that my God is more for me in the cathedral of life, the cathedral of nature, the landscape. Because everything that lives, that moves, and has its being is not New Age, it's old age, is sacred, because it's created by God for man to enjoy. So it's holy. But Matthew says, according to Bede Griffiths, what Westerners most need to learn from India is the sense of the sacred that pervades the whole order of nature. This is creation spirituality indeed. Every hill and tree and river is holy, and the simplest human acts are also. We in the West have emptied the daily of all religious meaning. Is Bede accurate in his criticisms of the West? In what ways has religious meaning been emptied from daily life in our Western culture? Bede recognizes a sacramentality of the universe, which everything that exists and all our daily actions are a part of. This is what Teilhard de Chardin was also speaking about. How can we deepen our understanding and experience of the sacred in all things and all our daily actions? How can we create rituals that accomplish this? And Bede said, the divine essence, the Holy Trinity, is totally present in every particle of matter, every atom, and every electron. However, you would like to divine the universe, the whole creation is totally pervaded by God. The cosmic religion has this awareness of God, pervading the whole creation which we as a whole have lost. The Hindu is still aware of the divine immanence in the universe. We have so much to learn from other beliefs, don't we? But yet many disregard, and it's tragic. Matthew says, again, like Teilhard de Chardin, Bede sees God in every particle of matter, every atom and every electron. This is the cosmic Christ tradition, the image of God in all things. Where does God exist for you? Can you spend a day breathing, touching, tasting, hearing, seeing the divine in everything that exists, in everything you do? Can you? It's an interesting observation, and it's one that we have to face. But many times I've been challenged and people say, oh, you're New Age. But that's old hat. For God is present in everything and in everyone, be they black or white, gay or straight, disabled or able-bodied. God is present. And who am I to sit in judgment? Who am I? What gives me the right to sit and judge another, a child of God? Bede says, in all these religious systems, the danger is that the logical structure and rational doctrine will obscure the mystical vision. So inherent is the tendency of the rational mind to seek to dominate the truth which it should serve. This is the danger of all religion. It begins with a mystical experience, the experience of the seers, of the Upanishads, of the Buddha under the Bo tree, of the Hebrew prophets and the apostles at Pentecost, of Muhammad receiving the message of the Quran. But this experience has to be put into words. It has to descend into the outer world and take the forms of human speech. Already at this stage, it is open to misinterpretation. The conflict between the letter and the spirit begins. Then the logical and rational mind comes and creates systems of thought. Heresies and sects spring up, and the truth is divided. This is due to the defect of the rational mind imposing its narrow concepts and categories on the universal truth. Yet it cannot be avoided because the truth must be proclaimed. Matthew Fox says, here Griffiths describes the distinction or split between spirituality and religion. This split is dangerous, yet it cannot be avoided. The divine mystical experience is beyond words, yet humans have a seemingly intrinsic desire to explain and need to proclaim the truth. But the moment we put the experience into words, we start to fight over the words. The conflict between the letter and the spirit begins. There is a defect of the rational mind that robs the universal truth of its authenticity, and we might add, that sells it so readily to powerful forces of militarism, nationalism, and so forth. A kind of idolatry takes over. How can we prevent this? How can we be on our toes to see this inherent danger of the rational mind? How can we preserve and honor mystical experience as the primary universal truth? All valid questions, and they need to be answered. Or as Jesus once said, they offer me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And how many do we know? How many do we know or have we met? And I've met quite a few who give lip service to God. They sound amazing in the pulpit, giving off this wonderful rhetoric. But then you discover that in their private life, they don't practice what they preach. It is better to walk the talk than talk the walk, as they say. Now let's read what Bede says. The truth has to be communicated, and this cannot be done without words, which both express and veil the truth. All sacred scriptures, the Vedas, the Buddhist sutras, the Bible, the Quran, are subject to this law. They betray the truth which they proclaim. In each religion, it is necessary to go back beyond its formulations, whether in scripture or tradition, to the original inspiration. One must receive the spirit by which the scriptures were inspired. One must be initiated into the truth. I do like that. One must be initiated into the truth. And Matthew says, in his characteristically strong language, Bede declares that all sacred scriptures betray the truth which they proclaim. They betray the truth which they proclaim. How tragic is that? This warning means we cannot rely on words alone, even holy words from holy books. So, to understand divine truth, we have to receive the Spirit that inspires the scriptures in the first place. In other words, spiritual experience is necessary. Each individual must be initiated into the truth by journeying to the place beyond words. This is the true path to religious renewal. Have you taken this journey? How often? Does your religious community encourage this? Is there more you can do? Well, as a member of the Teo community of Interfaith Franciscans, though I am a committed Catholic Christian and will always be, but the message from Jesus and Francis of Assisi was not to become all-inclusive and exclusive for Christian, but to leave my comfort zone, which was very hard in 2008, and in the words of Teresa of Avila, to walk the solitary path, to find one's God, but to embrace all faiths, for they too are the children of God. And not to bring dogma and lose people in language and in words which Bede and Matthew share with us, but to embrace the divine within each other through love. A challenge, because however well you do it, however kind you are to your own brothers and sisters, you will always encounter rejection. You will always meet what I'd call the born-again fraternity, who question your ability, who question your motives. But I'm not allowed to defend what I do because I'm in service to God. It belongs to God to defend what we do. Isn't that so? Well, Bede says Western man has been turning outwards to the world of the senses for centuries and losing himself in outer space. He has to learn again to turn inwards and find his self. He has to learn to explore not outer space, but the inner space within the heart. To make that long and difficult journey to the center, to the inner depth and heights of being, which Dante described in the Divine Comedy, compared with which the exploration of the moon and the other planets is the play of children. And Matthew says, Bede Griffiths feels the journey to the center, to the inner depth and height of being. is vastly more important than our physical journeys to the stars. We have to learn again to turn inwards and find his self. Where is your focus? Asks Matthew Fox. Primarily inward or outward? Do you find the inner universe as exciting as outer space travel? Is it all full of beauty and surprises? Well, there you have it. But Bede goes on to say, each man must therefore discover this center in himself, this ground of his being, this law of his life. It is hidden in the depths of every soul, waiting to be discovered. It is the treasure hidden in a field, the pearl of great price. It is the one thing which is necessary, which can satisfy all our desires and answer all our needs. It is the original paradise from which we have all come. It is the original paradise from which you and I have come. And Matthew Fox says, what is it that we are looking for when we turn inside? It is the original paradise from which we have all come. It is the divine source and origin of our being. It is the pearl of great price, the kingdom of God within us. For all the wonders and pleasures of the world, only this, Bede says, can satisfy all our desires and answer all our needs. How are we doing? How can we assist one another on this powerful and important journey? Well, how can we? How can I help you on your journey? Yes, as an enclosed monk, prayer is one of the tools at my disposal, but there's also action. If you're hungry and you come to our door, I will feed you. If you're troubled, I will listen. If there's something I can do, then I will do it, given the limitations of the life I live. But so many email us for practical support on how to pray, how to love themselves, how to forgive themselves. It's about putting yourself out of your comfort zone and be willing to walk the talk rather than talk the walk. Let's read what Bede has to say. The Buddha, Krishna, Christ, each is a unique revelation of God, of the divine mystery, and each has to be understood in its historical context, in its own peculiar mode of thought. To say that God is a person is not necessarily to deny that he is impersonal. The Christian concept of God often becomes so personal that it needs to be corrected by the impersonalism of Buddhism. To insist too much on the moral character of God can narrow our conception and lose something of that spontaneous freedom, that ecstasy of joy which is found in Krishna. And Matthew says Bede Griffiths celebrates Buddha and Krishna as well as Christ as a unique revelation of God. The particular cultural and historical context of these revelations help to balance the different dimensions of these incarnations. Taken together, they help us conceptualize what have been called divine paradoxes. God is both personal and impersonal. God holds out moral challenges, but also spontaneous freedom and joyful ecstasy. Religion or religions have so much to learn from one another, I agree. Do you experience both personal and impersonal aspects of God? Does your spiritual journey include both ethical choices and ecstatic celebration? And there we shall leave it for tonight and resume again tomorrow about In Jesus Myth and History Mean. But for now, let us just celebrate one thing, that we are a child of God, that we were called by name to celebrate our divinity, our divine self. Because when we were born, the Father, Mother, God breathed their very breath into our soul. And creation is a gift from God. It's like our playpen, where as a young child, our Father, Mother, God meets all our needs and provides for us if we're willing to be patient. Not many are. And even monastics get impatient. But the secret is to ask God, what are you saying to my heart? To challenge God. It's not something I was very good at a few years ago as a Catholic Christian, but now I have to. If there's something I hear or read or am told that doesn't resonate with my heart, and I get a feeling, a heaviness, then I always go to Christ and ask, is this divine truth? Very often I will use my Teo cross as a symbol to douse that truth, and I know I will be given a truthful answer when I use my Teo symbol. That's enough from me for tonight. I want to thank you for joining me. May God reward you. Have a blessed life. Take care of you, for your life matters because you are a co-creator of the divine.